welcome back to another video. Today, for the first time in a long time, I'm doing a Q&A session. I was looking back on my channel and it looks like it's been over 8 months since I did one of these and a lot has changed. So I asked you guys inside the YouTube community what questions you'd like me to answer, and you guys asked me a ton of questions, so I'm gonna try to give you some answers today. I definitely won't be able to get into everyone's question, so we'll have to try to do another one of these soon, okay? So the first question here comes from Anna Vargas, and she writes, do you and your husband share all money, or do you keep some separate individual accounts? And that's a great question because it has a kind of interesting answer. My husband and I have individual bank accounts that we started before we even got married, so we just still kept those accounts. Now, in our household, I'm the person who makes the money and he takes care of the kids. So the money comes into my business accounts first, and then from there, however much we're planning to spend on any given month goes into my personal account, and then I withdraw it as cash because we're currently on a cash-based budgeting system. So we take all the cash and we divvy it up into different envelopes for different categories in our budget, and then we both take the cash out of there to actually spend it. Okay, so for the next question, I'm gonna answer something that's not really personal, but I think it's a great question. And it is from Naheli Yaminian. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I'm not very good at pronouncing names. And Naheli writes, how do you figure out what to do to get your business going? Like the step-by-step, 1, 2, 3, etc. A lot of entrepreneurs mention doing research for creating their business, but they never say how or where to do the research, as in good reliable websites, books, etc. You're doing almost all the businesses that I would like to start: Amazon FBA, blog, YouTube, book, and I'm having some difficulties finding step-by-step guidelines. P.S. I love your channel. It's already helped me a lot and I'm planning to watch all your videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Nellie. So that's a great question and it could have a huge answer, but I'm just gonna give you the simple answer. And that is that as far as I know, there is no like one-stop shop resource that will teach you absolutely everything, aside from going to business school, but even that isn't going to teach you how to start most of those types of businesses that you mentioned. So really, there are lots of videos on YouTube that you can look up. There's tons on my channel, like how to start a YouTube channel that makes money or how to self-publish your book. So just whatever specific topic that you're looking for, I would recommend you start there. There's also plenty of great books out there. Just check on Amazon for books on how to start different types of businesses. And then if you're looking for how to research or test, then I would recommend this book by Pat Flynn. It's over here on my shelf somewhere. It's called Will It Fly? And it's a great book all about how to test your business idea before you go all the way in, before you quit your job or anything like that. Okay, now this next question is about work-life balance, and it is from Dancing for Joy, and thanks for the question and the comment because I know that you watch my videos on the regular. So you said, looking forward to this, Gillian. The main thing I'm curious about is how you can be both a successful entrepreneur and a good mama to little ones. I have such an itch to start a business, but I think I'd lose my peaceful mindset by trying to do too much. It may be because I have 5 little ones, but I know of other mamas of many who still make the home-based business work. How do you swing it without losing your mind? That is such a great question, and I love how you worded that. So, I mean, let's just talk about the really practical aspect of it. So for those of you who don't know, I have 3 little kids. They're 4 years, 2 years, and 3 months old. So they're definitely all still little and need a lot of attention. Now, as I mentioned before, because I am the full-time earner in my household, my husband does most of the childcare while I'm working. And that is a huge help, and it means that we don't have to have a full-time babysitter or a nanny or put them in outside childcare, which is fantastic. But even aside from that, I am someone who definitely wants to be a really involved mom, spend a lot of time with my kids, and just be really involved with their life. So because of that, it's really important to me that even though my husband is taking care of them while I'm working, that I do have this good work-life balance and am able to be present for them. So for me, that means that I have to be strategic about how I run my business. I have to make sure that I'm really only doing the activities in my business, the tasks in my business that are the most important things that really move us forward. structured so that I'm not just wasting my time doing busy work. And that allows me to run my six-figure business in about 20 to 30 hours a week. It depends on how good I am about that and how efficient I am and how focused I stay. If I'm having a good week, I can run it in 20 hours or possibly even less. If I have a big project or we're launching or I'm just being really unfocused and all over the place, then it might be 30 or 40 hours a week or even a little bit more. But I try to never go over 40 hours a week because I know that my happy place and the place where I feel good about that work-life balance and having time for the kids is right around 30 hours a week. And then the last part of this is just how I like structure my day. I wake up significantly before my kids. My kids sleep maybe a little bit more than average. They normally go to bed at about 9 o'clock and then they wake up at maybe 8 the next morning. So they sleep about 11 hours a night. And so that's, you know, a huge blessing in and of itself. But I wake up between 5 and 6 most mornings and I get into my work pretty early on. I don't have a huge drawn out morning routine. As much as I love routines, and I certainly do have a couple rituals that I go through, I've just found that because of the kids, it's important that I do get into my work right away so that I can get some stuff done before they wake up. Not because when they wake up I won't be able to work. Because my husband's taking care of them, I can keep working, but I don't want to be working for 6 or 8 hours out of their day. So because I'm able to get a couple hours of work done before they wake up, I'm able to stop working normally around lunchtime, which is fantastic because that means I can spend the whole afternoon and evening with them, or at least as much of that time with them as makes sense to spend with them. Okay, next question. This one comes from Katia Lamore, or Katia Lamore, I'm not exactly sure, but a couple people asked a question really similar to this, so I definitely wanted to answer it. She says, "Hi there. My question is, did family or friends ever try to discourage you from working for yourself and starting a business, especially when it wasn't successful yet? Did you ever have people criticize you for being a working mom?" Well, I guess that's more than one question. Okay, well that's totally all right to ask more than one question. So as for the first question, when you were asking about like, did people criticize me? I don't really remember people criticizing me. I think that there was two reasons for that. One was because I kind of have this policy in my life, and this isn't necessarily an entirely positive thing, but it's just something that I do, where I don't really like to tell people about what I'm working on ahead of time. And the reason that I do this is it comes from a good place. And the place that it's coming from is I don't want to be like promising something that I don't know for sure is going to happen, because I want people to be able to trust my word and know that they can count on me. So if I was all the time saying, next year I'm going to make $1 million, or next year I'm going to be booked solid, or whatever my goal was, if I was telling people this is going to happen or this is what I'm working on, and you know, of course, sometimes it wouldn't happen. And I felt like, or I feel like people might not count on me or feel like they could rely on me as much as I want them to be able to. So that's kind of where it's coming from. But the reason I'm not sure if it's entirely good is because it's good to have public accountability. It's good to tell people I'm going to do this and then do it, because that makes it more likely that you'll actually do it. So like there's a positive and a negative there, but at any rate, that is what I normally do. I normally don't tell people what I'm working on until I am at least 99% certain that it is actually happening, and the reason that I'm certain is normally because I have proof. So the reason that I don't normally get criticized is because I don't talk so much about what I'm going to do. I more just focus in on doing it, and then once I'm halfway there or 3/4 the way there to my goal, then I start telling people, hey guys, I'm doing this thing and this is like what's happened so far. And so at that point there's not much people can say, because I'm already, you know, like the proof is in the pudding. They can see it's already working, so what are they gonna say? Okay, and then as for the second part of your question, you said, did you ever have people criticize you for being a working mom? I think that anyone who is a working mom has probably experienced this to some degree at least, and it's not normally so much people outright criticizing you for being a working mom, but there's always this little bit of tension or sometimes uncomfortableness or awkwardness between moms who work and moms who don't work. And that's me being like really honest to admit that, because I feel like a lot of people don't want to admit that that even exists, because we want to be so accepting of everyone else and their lifestyle and all that. But you know, we all feel a little bit of judgment just from people who are different from us in any regard, and that's a big part of your life, you know, how you choose to spend most of your time, whether you're choosing to spend the bulk of it working to, you know, support your family, or whether you're choosing to spend the bulk of it spending time with your kids, taking care of your kids. And, you know, it's really important to me to have that balance, because I am the earner in my family, and so I need to do that, and it's also something that I love. My kids are also super important to me, so I prioritize having plenty of time with them also. But most people, you know, who aren't in my family don't know what my day-to-day life looks like, and so it's really hard for them to know whether or not I spend enough time with my kids, whatever that means. So, you know, I think that this is something that we all face in one way or another, regardless of what position we put ourselves in or what decisions we make in our life. We're gonna have people judge us, you know, it's inevitable. Okay. Glee86 asks, any advice on procrastination? I've seen so many videos on this, but nothing clicks for me. Help, this is literally my future. Okay, great one. So first of all, I do have a whole video on how to avoid procrastination, how to overcome procrastination. So if you haven't already watched that, make sure you head over to my YouTube channel. Just, you know, click that button down there, my face, and head over there and search on my channel for just the word procrastination, and you'll find it. But long story short, I've found that I think that most people are prone to procrastination, especially if we are overwhelmed, or we're unsure of what we're supposed to be working on, or we feel like it will be hard. And so, you know, that's something that happens to everyone. And so the two strategies that I'd recommend are, first of all, don't plan on doing something when you feel like it, because if it's one of those things, you know, that feels uncomfortable or hard or anything like that, you're probably never going to feel like it. So you simply have to schedule it and make a decision that you're going to do that task on a specific day at a specific time, and make that decision ahead of time rather than like trying to convince yourself to do it right now. Decide when you're going to do it and then do it at that time. So that's the first thing, although that probably should be the second thing, because the other thing is oftentimes the reason we're procrastinating is because something seems too big or too vague or too overwhelming. And so what you need to do about that is figure out, ask yourself, what is one tiny little step I could take in the direction I'm trying to go? Or what is the first tiny little thing that I need to do? So you have this big project, or even the project might not seem that big, but it might still be big enough that it's overwhelming you. So you just need to figure out what that first little step is and schedule that specific little step. And that will make it so much easier to start just getting that ball rolling and making progress on whatever the project or goal is that you want to be working on. Okay, next question. Chloe A asks, do you do everything for your business alone / self-driven, or is your family a huge support / help? Okay, so yes and no. I do all of the running of my business. My family doesn't help me run my business at all. However, they definitely are a support. They are very supportive of the work that I do. My husband helps out a ton with the kids while I'm working so that I have the time to actually work. And he is very supportive and encouraging of my work. He has never a single time said to me like, that he thought something wasn't going to work out, or that he didn't like believe in one of my goals or anything like that. He's been so supportive from day one, whenever that was, however many years ago that was. So I really appreciate that, and it's definitely helpful. But no, I do all of the running of my business myself. It's not a family business. Okay, the next question is from a girl whose name is Lumery, or at least her YouTube name is Lumery, and she asks, it's not so related to your channel, but what do you eat in a day to have so much energy? So I eat a whole foods diet, which means that I try to eat foods in as unprocessed of a state as I can eat them. So I'm not eating things out of packages or out of boxes or pre-made things, but I'm buying whole ingredients, fruits and vegetables, whole grains like rice or oatmeal, eggs, meat, all of those things, and then I cook them and, well, obviously, I cook them and I make them into dishes. So I'm not just eating an apple or a piece of steak or an egg. Like, I am making dishes, making soups, making casseroles even, all sorts of different things, but I try to eat a whole foods diet. It's not absolutely perfect. I try to focus on buying those things so that that's most of what I eat, but if I'm out somewhere, if I'm at a restaurant or at a friend's house, then I just try to make the healthiest choice that I can, but I'm not super strict about it, but I find that I am the most energized, and the thing that I notice the most, I think, is that as long as I do eat a whole foods diet, I need significantly less sleep than when I am eating just whatever I want to eat. If I eat whatever I want to eat, I need about 9 hours of sleep just to feel well rested, and I still don't feel fantastic, but I feel like I had enough sleep at least. But when I'm eating a clean whole foods diet, I feel fine on about 6 hours. And I still try to sleep 7 or 8 most nights, but if I get just 6, then I still feel fine, which is a really nice, like, side effect of eating a healthy diet, because obviously it's helping my body in so many other ways, but that's just a nice perk because that means I get an extra like 2 hours of productive time every day. Next question. Random Bites of a Sweet Life asked, where do you live? What kind of work did you do before your business YouTube, and what kind of work does your husband do? And by the way, yes, I can read. So first of all, where do I live? I live in Oregon. So obviously over on the West Coast, and I live in the Willamette Valley, which is on the west side of Oregon. So it's very green and luscious where I live. We get a lot of rain all winter long, and it's pretty temperate all year. So I personally love where I live. I love the weather. I actually even love the rain, and I love that it is so temperate all year round. We've traveled around the world a fair amount and thought about moving all sorts of different places, exotic places, other places in America, but the thing that keeps us here is, first of all, friends, and second of all, weather, because I am picky about weather and it's amazing here. Next question, what kind of work did I do before my business / YouTube? Nothing. I started my first business, which was a local music school back in high school about 10 years ago, and, well, actually, no, 12 years ago now, and that's, you know, was the first job that I had. I remember way back then when I started the business, first of all, I wasn't really trying to start a business, but I was wanting a job. But because I was still a teenager, it was hard to get a job, and also my parents weren't really sure about me getting a job, so I didn't really know what to do, but I knew that I wanted money, and then I just happened to have the opportunity to start teaching someone music lessons, and that snowballed into starting the whole business, which ended up becoming one of the largest academies of performing arts in the region. So a pretty cool turnout for that story, but the answer to your question is I didn't do anything before this. I started that business, ran the music school for several years, started all sorts of side gigs along the way, and then eventually about 6 years ago from now, I started trying to start this business, but didn't start the YouTube. And it took about 3 years for it to start really taking off at all. And so now I've been running this business for the last 3 years. The next question comes from Shauna Grizzle, and Shauna asked, you give such great advice on how to prepare yourself for success. What are some areas you are working on in your life? And what are you doing to move yourself to that next level? I love this question because it challenges me to actually, you know, think about these questions. They're things I think about on a regular basis, but it's always good to have some, you know, outside person ask you a question and kind of keep you accountable so that you're not just trying to work on yourself on your own. So thank you very much, Shauna. Okay, so what am I working on myself? Two things come to mind immediately. One of them is just like constant always, and that is just having, I would say, self-control, but I don't so much mean it in the way that I think a lot of people would use that to mean self-control to like not do something like, oh, this is a bad habit I shouldn't do, I need more self-control. I mean more just being in control of myself to be better about taking action and like doing the work that I know I need to do, because even though I know that you guys see me doing a lot, and I do a lot, there are things that I know I should be doing that I procrastinate on and I don't get around to nearly as soon as I would like to. So constantly working on that type of self-control and just being diligent. The other thing, which is a more specific thing and more lately, is routines. As a family, we have all these different routines, you know, morning routine, a lunchtime routine, a school routine, obviously I have a work routine, and we kind of ebb and flow with how consistent we are with the routines, and I definitely notice that we all are more productive and happier when we have consistent routines. And lately, and by lately I mean kind of this whole year honestly, because we've been traveling, we had a baby, I mean these are excuses, but I think they're kind of good excuses. Anyway, all of these things have made it difficult to stay consistent with our routine. And so we have a pretty good routine going right now, but I would just like to be even more consistent with it so I could be more productive and feel just even more peaceful and good about stuff, because I know that the more consistent my routine is, the better I feel about life. Okay, next question comes from Katerina. Katerina asks, will you homeschool your children, and what kind of people would you like your children to become? What values are you teaching them? What a good question. So first of all, yes, we are homeschooling our children. Our oldest is 4 and we've started doing kindergarten with him. Kind of started last year, just kind of easing into it, and now he's doing full-blown kindergarten and he's doing amazing with it. If you aren't aware, my husband and I were both homeschooled and we see a lot of positive benefits that came out of that, so we definitely want to pass that on to our kids, and that was something that we both knew that we wanted to do for them. So we've started doing that with the oldest and it's going really well so far. As for what kind of people we want them to become, some of the things that come to mind immediately are honesty, kindness / consideration of others. I think that's so important. Considering other people's feelings and considering how our actions affect other people and acting kindly towards them. And then the third thing that comes to mind is for them to be hardworking and diligent. And hardworking doesn't necessarily have to do so much with like doing back-breaking labor, but more about being diligent and committed, and whatever the task is at hand that needs to get done, being willing to do that work and get it done. The next question comes from Marina Vasiliki, and Marina asks a lot of questions, but I'm going to answer this one specifically. She says, do you have any specific dreams or goals that you're moving towards right now that you either still want from your past or that evolved from your current life? So the two goals that come to mind, one of them I'm more actively working on, and then the other one is kind of like a past goal that is just on the back burner, but it's gonna happen. So the first one is Startup Society, which I founded this past year, and we currently have several hundred members and it is going fantastic. And my goal for it is to grow it to 5,000 members over the next couple of years here. And by couple, I literally mean 2. So it's an ambitious goal because right now we only have a few hundred from our first launch, but we are growing steadily and we're continually making improvements to the program, but we're also really stepping up our game with the launch. When we did our initial launch back in January, it was a really simple, cut and dry launch. We just had an email sequence basically, and I did a couple free workshops to promote the event, and it went really well. We signed up 300 members with our initial first launch, and it was such an amazing group of people to jump into the program with. But as we're going forward and continuing to launch the program again and open it up to new members, we have so many ideas for how we can take it to the next level. By welcoming affiliates on board, by doing paid advertising. We didn't do any of that this past time, and that was intentional because I wanted to keep it super simple, just test the waters, not invest too much time or money into something that wasn't tested yet. But now that it's proven, now that we see that the members are getting results, that they're moving forward with their business, that they're loving it, now we're ready to dive even more deeply. It's become the entire focus of my business and the thing that I am now pouring most of my time into. So that is the one goal. getting up to 5,000 members with Startup Society. And then the second goal is something that's completely on the back burner right now, but that is to write my next book. So I've written and published one book, Sorted, and then a couple years ago I wrote another book. Actually wrote kind of like 1.5 books. Started writing one book, got about halfway through it, maybe a bit more, and decided this is not the book I want to be writing, just it wasn't working out. So I completely scrapped that, started over, wrote a different book. I wrote the entire book and I got to the end and I thought, well, this is the book that I was trying to write and it has its merits, but I'm not super proud of it or super pleased with it. It's not really what I want to put out into the world, at least not right now. So I shelved that also. I didn't scrap that one, but I shelved it, and so I have that manuscript sitting there. But at this point, I have come up with a new concept for a new book that I am really excited about. Much more excited than with the past book where it was more like, time to write the next book, what should I write about? And I just started writing. This time I have an inspiration for something that I'm really passionate about and something that has had an amazing impact in my life in so many ways, and something that I really want to share with my audience, with you guys. So at this point, all I have is a title and a concept for the book. I haven't written a single word, so my goal is to get that book written. I don't have a timeline on it right now because, like I said, it's just shelved. It's just on the back burner. I'm waiting for the right time. I'm hoping that the right time is next year, later in 2019, that I'll be able to actually start working on this project. But it's a big goal of mine to write this book and something that I'm hoping to get the chance to do very soon. Chloe Hay asks, what is your Myers-Briggs personality type? And I am an INTJ. My letter that most changes is that first one. I'm pretty even between the introvert and the extrovert. So sometimes I test as an ENTJ, sometimes I test as an INTJ. Although something that is interesting about my Myers-Briggs personality type, and something that might be interesting for you to consider as well, is are you extremely one thing or the other for each of the different letters in the personality type? Or are you split almost 50-50 on your test results for each of them? Because that's how I am. I'm pretty balanced between being an introvert and an extrovert. And that is the case for each of the letters in my Myers-Briggs personality type. I'm pretty evenly split. And that's just something to consider as you're thinking about how maybe that's affecting your life, affecting your work, affecting how you're going after your goals, or whatever you're trying to use this tool to understand in your life. Okay, and the last question I'm going to answer is from Her Future Moves, and she says, what kinds of risks do you take and how do you manage and monitor these? So I have to admit, I'm a big risk taker. In fact, I'm a little bit fearless, and honestly, the more I advance in my life and in my career, the more fearless I become, simply because the bigger risks that I take, the bigger rewards I get, and at least so far, I've never had anything terrible happen as a result of these risks. Now, that's not to say that there have not been challenges. That's not to say that there have not been bad outcomes. But at the end of the day, I'm still alive. My family is still happy and healthy. We're all still thriving. And life just keeps getting better and better. And honestly, the challenges have been some of the things that have had the biggest, best impact on my life and in shaping my personality and my character. So even though sometimes the risks that I took put us in really difficult situations that were really hard at the time, I honestly don't regret them. And so going forward, as I'm accepting new risks and, taking on new challenging projects, it's tough for me to say, oh, I don't want to do that because it's too risky. Because in the past, the risks have always paid off. Either big risk, big reward, or big risk, oh, we fell, but, we're still here, we're still smiling, we're still moving forward, and that created new opportunities. So how do I decide which risks to take on? If the payoff would be worth it, especially worth the work or the money that I would be investing in order to get that result, and I do a simple analysis of the risk and decide that it's, more likely to succeed than to fail, then I go for it. And I know that that's not maybe super technical or complex, and there's certainly plenty of thinking and analyzing that goes into it. You know, any math that can be done is done, but at the end of the day, I'm not sitting around worrying about what if this fails, because I'm focused so much on that positive outcome that I'm trying to get out of it. Okay, well that is all of the questions I'm going to answer today because this video is getting pretty long. So I'm gonna plan to do another one of these in a few months here, sometime in early 2019. So if you have any questions, always feel free to leave them in the comment section of the videos. Whenever I see a question that I want to answer during a Q&A, I always copy and paste it onto my Evernote so that I have it for my next Q&A video. So, you know, be sure to leave those questions down there so that I can answer them in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I know you're probably already subscribed to my channel, and thank you so much, but if there's any chance that you aren't, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so that you don't miss my next video. If you're new around here, then I just want to let you know that I make 2 new videos every single week about entrepreneurship, success, and personal development. So if you're into any of those things, I would love to have you join me for my next video. If you liked seeing this Q&A, then hit that thumbs up button to let me know. And if we get enough likes, if we get more likes than normal, then I'll try to make another Q&A video sooner rather than later. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are having an amazing week, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.